Hickok 45 here with a lot of power. In fact, high power. Oh boy. All kinds of power. Yes. And I think I have another round. No, I don't. That round was a little bit underpowered. Speaking of high power, it didn't eject. I thought it felt kind of almost like a squib, but it wasn't. Okay. So yeah, this is the new high power, and I finally got my hands on one. Yeah, I'm very pleased that that I did. It's yep, there's nothing in the barrel, and it just had a weaker round there, that last one. Just range ammo. But FN is making the high power again, if you did not know that, okay? And I think we started trying to get a hold of one around 2 or 3 years ago when they started making them again, but they weren't in very big numbers out there, and then the pandemic affected that and everything. So a little late, but that's okay. I'm anxious, or I'm happy to have one, because I like the high power. It's not my favorite firearm, but it is such a classic, and maybe it's one of my favorites out of 100 or so. And it's cool that FN realized the error of their ways, right? And you know, now John Browning can look down and be satisfied that FN is still making this baby. I think the first run was like 82 years consistently, continuous production of the high power. And then they quit making it in what, 2017 or 18. It just being surpassed by so many other firearms, not quite as popular. Think about all the wonderful 9mm pistols that have come about in the last 5, 10, 20 years. And so the old high power was competing with all those, even though it'd been updated. I'm not even familiar with all the various updates. I got some black paint on my finger. I wonder how that happened. And couldn't have been painting targets, could it? But it has culminated in this, basically. And I'll point out some of the differences between it and the originals. And I'm kind of in a weird spot when it comes to high power. I'm more familiar with the really early ones, and then, you know, this is a much later version. I kind of got away from them myself when I sold mine. I don't know when that thing was made, in the 70s, early 70s or something. The one I had was actually a Browning high power, HI power. And I let it get away in the 80s, I guess, 1990, long in there. And then I replaced it, saw the error of my ways, with this one, which is even older. This one was made in 1952. Hopefully you've seen the videos on this. Maybe I'll link to the videos on this one, you know, in this video that you're watching right now, okay? So look in the description, pin comments. But this is their new version. Now I've got my mags loaded, and I'm gonna shoot some more. So, well, the biggest difference is, of course, we have major updates since the early days of 1952 on this one. The hammer's cocked. There's nothing in this thing, of course. It's the mag down, but a lot of changes. It's still a Browning high power, or FN high power, but it's bigger. Maybe you can just tell by looking. It is a little bigger, and I think it's a little longer by a little bit, and it's heavier. It weighs 40 ounces. This thing is 40 ounces, I think, with an empty magazine. So it's a chunk. That is a chunk, 40 ounces. But they have improved it, just like Springfield did. You know, Springfield came out with one 2 or 3 years ago, and I guess that was soon after FN, you know, discontinued the high power. And it was nice. We did a video or two on that thing. I liked it. They fixed the issues with the, you know, the magazine disconnect. The safety worked better, thumb safety. I think the ejection port and they just improved it. Nice firearm. And of course FN has done the same thing. They've made all those same improvements. Your safety is very simple to on off and everything. It's you got ambi, slide locks, You know, you don't, well, you don't have the magazine disconnect. It breaks down even easier. The lockup is supposed to be better on it, the way it locks up to the hood here. You know, they just improved it, and it has a nice trigger, so I kind of like it. But now it is a big gun, and that gets to the point, you know, who's looking for a high power? Are many people looking for one as their carry gun? And you can see why FN might have discontinued it. It's not as popular as the 1911, and of course all the wonderful new 9mm pistols out there. They're a lot lighter, more convenient, extremely reliable, and I guess this is too so far. But you know, it's kind of in a funny place now. You know, I don't own a newer FN, you know, this one from FN or the Springfield, which I liked, mainly because I'm not going to start carrying one. As a range gun, it'd be fine, but I guess a bit of a snob. If I'm going to have a Browning high power, and since it's not my daily carry or something, I'd just soon have a historical one. If 1952 is historical, you know, just an early one. And you know, it's just, and there are things about this one I don't like. So is that awkward safety, it's got the magazine disconnect and all that. Doesn't matter that much. I'm not going to be carrying this. I just like it because it's such a historical firearm, and this is an earlier model of it, and this is what a Browning high power was. It's what it ought to be, right? So yeah, so I like it, and have no plans to let it go. Pretty cool, even with the magazine disconnect, you know, all those things that we might consider inconvenient, but you know, those wooden grips, and it's just cool. So this one though, you know, if you're going to be shooting it much and using it at the range or carrying it, it might be cooler than that one, because it just is maybe a better shooter, you know. Good sights, it's got better sights on it and everything else. Let me shoot the thing. Now, I've not shot it a whole lot. Let's shoot that target. Now the sights really jump out at you, a little bit bigger. Pop old Mr. Bigfoot over there. How about Mr. Gong? Let's hold a little higher. Maybe hold a little higher. Some of the negatives for this though are it's its own magazine. Yeah, you can't use the old mags. There's probably a few billion high power magazines out there, and this is different though. It holds 17. It's just a different magazine, and just a different gun. I read that the firearm basically, like hardly any parts, maybe no parts, are interchangeable. So it's a different firearm. It's basically a modern gun, just built like a high power. Okay, looks like a high power, feels like a high power, pretty much. A little thinner grip, and so that's what you end up with. Just a nice big old gun, maybe a good range gun, maybe a good carry gun, home defense, whatever. And it's probably going to be more reliable. They really widen the ejection port. Look at this. Look at that ejection port. It really is just a port on that one. It's like a Glock or something. A lot of modern pistols, a SIG right there. So it's going to be more reliable, you know, in that sense. Breaks down differently. You got this little lever here you push down. So 90 degrees, and slide comes off. I'll show you the barrel hood. A little different. It just locks into the kind of a squared up area up there. Got a crown barrel, crown target barrel. Okay, pretty cool. So, you know, different animal to some extent. Not that that's a negative necessarily. It's, again, it's probably more reliable, more shootable, and you might enjoy it a lot more to fire it. Also, you're not going to get the what do you call it, the hammer bite back here. It's got a little bit of a beaver tail, a little bit more. I've not had hammer bite in shooting, and I do get hammer bite with those. So you know I must love the history, because you got some negatives with this thing, and hammer bite is one of them. I hate hammer bite. You get it on this and on, of course, the early 1911s. So John Browning he was kind of a tall guy, I think, a little bit taller than normal for the times. But I don't know, his hands, as he was designing and working on both of these things, the 1911 and this, he must have never experienced hammer bite, because he, guess what, newsflash, he kind of knew how to modify and design a firearm that would work correctly. So I don't know, he and his brothers and everybody that fired it and tested these things must not have gotten hammer bite. But yeah, you get it with that, but not with this. Pretty nice. Let's shoot some more. You want to? Okay. Yeah. So as I say often, I don't like really heavy firearms, but there is an advantage. And what is that? Yeah, less recoil. It's like when I was firing that, I think it was the first magazine, that last or next to the last round. I think it was the last round. I could tell it felt a little lighter, like almost like a half charge, it seemed to be. But this thing is so hefty, and that heavy slide and everything, that you just don't get recoil to begin with. So it wasn't dramatic. In fact, I thought, well, maybe it's my imagination. What about you, Mr. Bigfoot? Do you have an imagination? Imagine a bullet hitting you. Yeah, just imagine. How about the buffalo over there? All right, got to hold a little bit higher. Sights are not really elevation adjustable, so nothing dramatic, but I do need to hold a little bit higher. Like right the buffalo over there, I need to hold on top of his back, right on the top edge, I noticed. And then the gong up towards the top in order to hit it. So not a big deal. You see your sights, it's black, serration there. No night sights or anything like that. Get the ambi safety here. And I do notice that the slide works whether safety's on or not. Okay, some people like that. I like it okay. It's just the safeties are always in the way, those sorts of operations when you're trying to pull the slide rearward. Gosh, what else about that? Did I tell you it's about $1,400? I don't think I did yet. I'll get that paint started. Balisol is good for taking paint off your hands. I'll tell you, let it soak a while. It'll come right off. Yeah, it's a heavy gun, but it's a nice shooter, and the trigger is really sweet. It's a single action, of course. It's just got a pretty nice break, and yeah, you got serration. You got some checkering up here. It's not like deep, sharp checkering on the front and the back strap. Beginning to look a little bit like a 1911 mainspring housing there, isn't it? So, but it feels good. It fits the hand, really well. Not bad at all. And before I forget, I want to thank Alabama Holster and belt holsters inside the waistband, outside, purse holsters, you can have phone holsters like this one. So check them out. Great supporter of the channel. Boom. And I think I'll shoot one more mag and I'll let you go. Like I say, I am not a high power expert, as you can tell. I just know they're such a such an iconic pistol that you just need to at least appreciate them. I think most of you are not going to buy a high power. Most of you do not own a high power. It's not even on your short list. It's not even your long list, much less your short list. Can't speak today, a little chilly. But that's just the way it is. A little tidbit of history too. I just reminded myself the high power on the FN is HIGH, high power. Okay, that was they considered, because this was new back when this thing was developed in the 30s. To have that many rounds, it was kind of the high capacity 9mm pistol on the planet, for a long time. And so that's what the high power kind of referred to. You know, lots of power, lots of ammo. Okay. Then when Browning started making them, what was it? Browning had another firearm. I think it was a rifle. Remembering my history, that was called a high power. They had a model called the high power. Okay, because I think it had, I don't know why, but it was a high power, and I'm not familiar with it. So they called it the HI power, so it'd be different. All right, but now that FN is making it again, it's called the high power, HIGH. So I knew you wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if you didn't know that. Okay, you don't want to be confused about that. Although I probably confused you a little more. So let's just shoot a little more here before I let you go. Let's pop something. Have some fun. Yeah, great shooter. Yeah. Again, that's one of the advantages of a heavy pistol. Think about it. You know how much maybe your Glock, I don't know, 17 or 19 or 26 or whatever it might be weighs. A lot less. Yeah, those weigh like 20 ounces, 24 ounces. You're talking 40 ounces here. So something that heavy, shooting a 9mm round, is not exactly going to knock you down, is it? And it's just fun to shoot. So there's a negative and a positive for everything. I believe Emerson said that, right? Wrote that in his essay called Compensation, if I recall my literary endeavors correctly. So anyway, the Browning High Power, the newer version of it, it is available. They're out here around $1,400 MSRP. I mean, FN makes good stuff. If you've got a yen for a newer high power that has all the newer features that are going to make it maybe more reliable, more shootable, maybe feel better to you, you just been a high power fan for a long time, maybe it's something you want to look at, you know, or just have one to shoot occasionally. You're such a fan of the high power. But yeah, that's just kind of the deal there. You know, a lot of ambi stuff on it, pretty much ambi, and feels good. It's been a good shooter. We've not had a malfunction, have we? Yeah, even with that lighter round, well, with that really light round, right, yeah, what was the deal? Yeah, it just didn't, it fired, but it didn't quite eject the case, because that was an underpowered round, not a high-powered round, right? So anyway, FN high power, HIGH, another option to confuse you if you are shopping for pistols. Life is good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it, for all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com. And also, while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.